Stoic philosophy tells us that there are sometimes turning points in life when we must muster the courage to leave certain relationships. These relationships can be either family or friendly. This is an invitation not to isolation, but to authenticity and inner peace. Today we're going to reveal 11 signs that it's time to cut ties. This is often a difficult choice that requires courage. However, the advice of the sages will help you gather your courage and take the first step towards liberation. In this video you will understand how to wisely free yourself from the ties that burden your soul. So make yourself comfortable to fully absorb the content. Let's start. First sign. When relationships interfere with your personal growth. Seneca left us a profound message. A friendship that could end was never real. This quote encourages us to reflect on the essence of true friendship and family love. Both should ideally be with crowds supporting and guiding us in the relentless pursuit of wisdom and virtue. However, it is very important to realize that sometimes the relationships we maintain can lead us astray from the path of development. When we realize that our emotional connections are leading us astray, deep and sincere reflection becomes necessary. This is the moment to question and re-evaluate these connections. This re-evaluation is not an easy process. It requires introspection and often courage in making difficult decisions. We may have to reconsider old connections, question family dynamics, or even let go of friendships that are dragging us down rather than enriching us. This is a process of self-knowledge and, above all, self-esteem. The most important thing to understand is that personal growth is inextricably linked to the people with whom we choose to share our journey. Healthy and constructive relationships are those that push us to be our best selves, challenge us in a positive way, and most of all, respect our essence and life goals. Therefore, when we encounter relationships that seem to hinder our progress, we need to remember the wisdom of Seneca. We must seek true relationships, ones that will withstand the tests of time and adversity, support us in our quest for wisdom and, most importantly, walk alongside us towards virtue. It is a journey of discovery, testing and often necessary renewal. Second, when destructive emotions predominate in a relationship. Delving deeper into the area of destructive emotions that can dominate a relationship. It is appropriate to cite the thoughts of Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous representatives of Stoicism. He instructs us with words of great wisdom. You are in control of your mind, not of external events. Realize this and you will gain strength. This phrase is a powerful reminder of the importance of maintaining control over your emotions and thoughts, especially in relationships riddled with feelings such as anger, jealousy or resentment. These negative emotions, when they become persistent and dominant in our relationships, have the ability to distance us from our true inner strength. They trap us in a vicious cycle of reactions and automatic responses to situations that are often beyond our control. Anger, jealousy and resentment are feelings that, although human, can lead us astray from self-control and calm. The challenge is to recognize these destructive emotions and understand that our response to them is under our control. As Marcus Aurelius teaches, we cannot control external events, but we have complete control over how to respond to these events. This requires constant self-awareness and self-control, essential skills for maintaining mental and emotional health in difficult relationships. When we find that relationships consistently lead us to such negative emotional states, it is very important to evaluate the dynamics of the relationship. It is important to question whether these relationships contribute to our well-being and growth or keep us trapped in constant emotional turmoil. When we end up dealing with destructive emotions in our relationships, we must seek the inner strength that Marcus Aurelius mentions, which involves patience, understanding and empathy, and establishing healthy boundaries and, if necessary, distancing ourselves from relationships that prevent us from reaching our full emotional and intellectual potential. It is a journey of self-discovery and personal empowerment in which we learn to value relationships that lift us up and distance ourselves from those that bring us down. Third, if you are being manipulated or controlled. When considering the issue of manipulation and control in interpersonal relationships, it is critical to consider the Stoic view of autonomy. As emphasized by Epictetus, one of the most prominent philosophers of this school of thought. This sentiment captures the essence of individual freedom and self-government, vital elements for well-being and personality development. Manipulation and control in any type of relationship are clear signs that autonomy is being threatened. When we find ourselves in a dynamic where our decisions, thoughts and actions are constantly influenced or dictated by someone else, we face a serious violation of our personal freedom. This scenario is contrary to the principles of Stoicism, which values self-control and independence of the individual. It is important to recognize the signs of a manipulative or controlling relationship. They can manifest themselves in different ways: constant criticism, decreased self-esteem, isolation from friends and family, or even imposition of decisions without taking into account the opinions of others. Such behavior not only undermines self-confidence, but also traps a person in a circle of emotional and psychological dependence. Recognizing that one is in a relationship that limits one's personal autonomy is the first step toward liberation. Epictetus reminds us that true freedom comes when a person becomes master of himself. This means taking control of our own lives, setting healthy boundaries, and, if necessary, ending relationships that are robbing us of our fundamental freedom. Making the decision to leave a manipulative relationship can be difficult and even painful. However, it is an act of courage and a critical step in regaining control over your life. It is a process of liberation, a journey of self-discovery, self-empowerment and, above all, affirmation of one's own worth and independence. Self-worth and independence. Thus, acknowledging and distancing ourselves from relationships that manipulate or control us is an act of deep self-respect. Following Epictetus's advice, we should strive to be masters of our lives by cultivating relationships that respect our autonomy and allow us to reach our full potential. Fourth, when a relationship does more harm than good. When discussing the dynamics of relationships that cause more harm than good, it is necessary to emphasize the importance of inner well-being in each person's journey. Toxic relationships that drain energy, cause constant emotional discomfort and create a negative environment are contrary to the concept of personal growth and development. In this scenario, it is important to understand that the constant presence of tension, unresolved conflicts, mutual disrespect and lack of emotional support indicate a harmful relationship. Not only does this dynamic hinder personal flourishing, but it can also lead to poor mental and physical health. Relationship toxicity often manifests itself in subtle ways, such as constant criticism, lack of empathy, manipulation, or even emotional abuse. Such situations create a vicious cycle of negativity in which a person feels trapped and is unable to move forward in their personal or professional life. The pursuit of inner well-being requires an environment that nurtures positivity, mutual support, respect, and most of all, promotes mental and emotional health. If the relationship becomes an obstacle to achieving these aspects, it is a clear sign that something needs to change. Making the decision to distance yourself from a toxic relationship is an act of self-care and self-respect. Although this choice may be difficult and accompanied by feelings of guilt or fear, it is an important step in making room for healthy and constructive relationships that truly promote growth and well-being. The process of leaving a harmful relationship is also a moment of reflection and learning. This is an opportunity to strengthen self-esteem, reaffirm your values and priorities, and gain a better understanding of the type of relationships that positively contribute to your life's journey. Therefore, it is important to be alert to the signs of a toxic relationship and have the courage to seek change when necessary. Ultimately, the pursuit of inner well-being and personal growth should be a priority in our lives, and the relationships we cultivate play a critical role in this process. Fifth, if there is not enough mutual respect. The issue of mutual respect in interpersonal relationships is an extremely important issue, especially in light of Stoic principles that value dignity and self-control. Relationships lacking mutual respect are incompatible with these values and can lead to an atmosphere of misunderstanding, devaluation and constant tension. Respect is the foundation on which healthy relationships are built. It involves recognizing differences, listening and understanding another person's point of view, and being empathetic and considerate. Without respect, communication becomes incomplete, conflicts escalate, and harmony is destroyed. Relationships without mutual respect often manifest in the form of neglect, destructive criticism, disregard for the other person's needs and feelings, and even abusive behavior. This attitude not only destroys relationships, but also greatly affects self-esteem and emotional well-being of each participant. Stoic teachings remind us of the importance of maintaining dignity and self-control in all our interactions. This involves treating others with the same consideration and respect that we desire for ourselves. When a relationship lacks this fundamental element, it becomes harmful and distorted. When faced with a dynamic that lacks mutual respect, it is important to evaluate the relationship and consider changes needed to restore a healthy balance. This may include open dialogue, setting clear boundaries, and in some cases, distancing, especially if the disrespect has become a recurring and irreparable pattern of behavior. Recognizing that there is a lack of respect in a relationship and taking steps to address it or distance yourself from it is an important step to maintaining your self-esteem and mental health. Ultimately, by choosing a relationship based on mutual respect, you are choosing a path of self-esteem and personal growth consistent with the Stoic ideals of dignity and self-control. 6. When do relationships get in the way of accepting reality? The Stoic approach places a strong emphasis on accepting reality as it is, and this concept also applies to interpersonal relationships. Relationships that keep us chained to illusions or promote denial of reality are counterproductive and can be extremely harmful. In Stoic philosophy, accepting reality does not imply passivity or resignation. but rather a clear and objective understanding of the world as it is, free from false expectations or idealizations. If we apply this principle to our relationships, it becomes obvious that maintaining connections based on illusions or denial of facts prevents us from living authentically and truthfully. Relationships that encourage us to ignore the truth, whether through fantasy, constantly justifying unacceptable behavior, or creating an alternate reality, distance us from truly understanding ourselves and others. This disconnect from reality can cause us to overlook serious problems, make decisions based on distorted perceptions, and live in a constant state of dissatisfaction. This type of relationship may be characterized by broken promises, unrealistic expectations, or even a refusal to acknowledge obvious problems. Such situations create fertile ground for frustration and dissatisfaction because we are constantly striving for something that does not correspond to reality. Accepting the truth in a relationship can be difficult, especially when it means letting go of the illusions we are attached to. However, this is a necessary step for personal development and building healthier and more realistic relationships. The stances encourage us to accept reality, treat situations as they are, and seek peace in that understanding. Eat and seek peace in this understanding. Therefore, it is very important to be aware of the signs that a relationship is based on illusion rather than reality. Acknowledging and distancing ourselves from such dynamics allows us to rediscover our path to a more authentic and satisfying life in accordance with the Stoic principles of acceptance and clarity of reality. 7th, if you compromise your values. Living in accordance with one's own values is a central aspect of Stoicism and the cornerstone for living a fulfilling and meaningful life. When we find ourselves in relationships that force us to compromise or betray our core values, we are faced with a critical dilemma that deserves careful thought and re-evaluation. Personal values act as an internal compass, guiding our decisions, actions, and interactions with the world around us. They reflect our deepest beliefs and what we hold to be important and true. When relationships require us to abandon or ignore these values, it not only compromises our personal integrity, but can also lead to deep feelings of dissatisfaction and discomfort. Relationships that require betrayal of values can manifest themselves in different ways. This may be pressure to act contrary to what we believe is right, to tolerate behavior that we consider unacceptable, or even to sacrifice important aspects of our identity. These concessions may seem small at first, but over time they can add up to a significant impact on our self-esteem and sense of self-worth. Stoic philosophy teaches us to live in harmony with our values. This means having the courage to make difficult choices, distance ourselves from situations that lead us astray, and seek relationships that respect and reflect our most fundamental principles. Re-evaluating relationships in terms of their alignment with our values is not an easy task. It may be associated with internal conflicts, feelings of betrayal, fear of loneliness or fear of change. However, being true to your values is important for mental and emotional health and is a sign of self-respect and authenticity. Therefore, it is important to recognize how our relationships influence and reflect our values. When we realize that we are compromising our core values, we should seriously consider how beneficial these relationships are to our personal growth and well-being. This is not only a Stoic principle, but a vital step towards an authentic and fulfilling life. Eighth, when the relationship is not mutual. Reciprocity in any relationship is a key factor in its health and sustainability. An imbalance where one party is constantly giving and the other is constantly receiving creates a scenario of inequality that can be harmful and unsustainable in the long run. A balanced relationship is one in which both parties contribute and receive fairly and equally. This exchange does not always have to be precise or immediate, but there should be a general feeling of reciprocity and support. When one party continually plays the role of giver while the other remains the receiver, an unequal dynamic is created that can lead to feelings of resentment, exhaustion, and devaluation. This type of one-sided relationship can manifest itself in various forms, be it emotionally, where one person is constantly supportive and the other rarely reciprocates, or in practical terms, such as when performing everyday tasks or making important decisions. When imbalance becomes the norm, the relationship ceases to be a partnership and becomes a burden for one of the parties. It is important to recognize the signs of a non-reciprocal relationship and address the problem. This may require having an open conversation about needs and expectations, renegotiating boundaries and responsibilities, and in some cases reconsidering the long-term viability of the relationship. In this context, it is very important to remember that self-respect and self-esteem are also at stake. Constantly being in a position of giving without receiving the value and attention you deserve can undermine your sense of self-worth. Thus, finding balance in a relationship is not only a matter of fairness, but also an act of self-care. Therefore, to maintain a healthy and fulfilling relationship, it is necessary to strive for reciprocity. A balanced relationship promotes mutual growth, respect and satisfaction on both sides. These are the relationships we must strive for and cultivate in our lives, both for our well-being and for the well-being of those with whom we interact. Ninth, abuse in any form is completely unacceptable in any relationship. Stoic wisdom, which emphasizes the importance of self-respect and dignity, makes it clear that we should never tolerate abusive or harmful behavior. Abuse can manifest itself in many ways: physically, emotionally, verbally, psychologically, and even financially. Regardless of the form, it has an extremely negative impact on the mental, physical and emotional health of the person who experiences it. Abusive relationships are characterized by control, intimidation, isolation and fear. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value and respect ourselves. This involves recognizing our intrinsic value and rejecting treatment that compromises our integrity or well-being. To be in an abusive relationship is to be in an environment that continually devalues and dehumanizes us. A scenario that is completely contrary to what the Stoics believed to be a virtuous and honorable life. Admitting that you are in an abusive relationship is the first step to seeking help and change. It is very important to understand that abuse is never justified and the responsibility for it lies entirely with the abuser, not the victim. Seeking support from friends, relatives or specialists is the most important condition for getting out of this situation. Leaving an abusive relationship can be difficult and requires courage and support. However, it is a vital step towards regaining your self-esteem, self-respect and freedom. The journey of recovery from an abusive relationship is also a journey of affirming your own worth and strength. Therefore, it is very important to be aware of the signs of abuse and take immediate protective measures. On this path, it is extremely important to follow the Stoic teachings of self-respect. Live a life of dignity and respect, free from abuse. This is the fundamental right of every person. 10th. When communication continually fails. Effective communication is a vital element of any healthy relationship. When we encounter situations where communication consistently fails, whether one-sided or persistently conflictual, we face a major obstacle to harmony and understanding, a critical element according to Stoic philosophy. In relationships where there is a lack of communication, misunderstandings, disappointments and resentments often arise. One-way communication, where one party dominates the conversation or does not allow the other to speak, creates a harmful imbalance. Likewise, communication characterized by constant conflict and an inability to reach common ground can be debilitating and draining. Stoics value harmony and balance, both within themselves and in their relationships with others. They advocate the idea that we should strive for understanding and peaceful dialogue, avoid unnecessary conflict and promote an atmosphere of mutual respect. To achieve these goals, effective communication is important. To improve communication in a relationship, it is important to practice active listening, express yourself clearly and respectfully, and be open to dialogue and understanding the other person's point of view. This includes the ability to openly discuss problems, share feelings and needs, and work together to find constructive solutions. If communication continually fails and attempts to improve it fail, the relationship may need to be reconsidered. In some cases, it may be helpful to seek help from a professional, such as a therapist or couples counselor, to overcome communication barriers. Therapist or couples counselor. Thus, maintaining healthy and effective communication is fundamental to the health and longevity of any relationship. This is a critical aspect not only for personal well-being, but also for building harmonious and enriching relationships in accordance with the Stoic teachings of balance and mutual understanding. 11. If the relationship disturbs your peace of mind. Serenity and inner peace are fundamental goals of Stoic philosophy, and maintaining them is essential to living a fulfilling and balanced life. If we find ourselves in a relationship that constantly disturbs our inner peace, this is a clear sign that this relationship needs to be carefully reconsidered and, if necessary, re-evaluated or even terminated. Relationships that cause constant internal turbulence, be it constant conflict, anxiety, stress or self-doubt, are contrary to the Stoic principle of seeking serenity. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value emotional balance and maintain inner calm even in the face of difficult external circumstances. Relationships that are a constant source of anxiety interfere with the cultivation of this serenity and can lead to a chronic state of emotional discomfort that affects not only our mental health, but also our ability to enjoy life and engage in meaningful activities. In this context, it is important to evaluate the impact of relationships on our well-being. This involves thinking about how relationships affect us emotionally. Is there a pattern of negativity that cannot be eliminated, and have attempts to improve the relationship dynamics been fruitless? The decision to end a relationship is never easy, especially when deep feelings are involved. However, Stoic philosophy encourages us to make decisions that are consistent with our well-being and inner peace. This may mean distancing ourselves from relationships that harm our peace of mind. It is important to remember that the pursuit of peace is not selfishness, but an important step towards self-preservation and living in accordance with our highest principles. Therefore, when faced with relationships that constantly disturb our peace, we must have the courage to make difficult choices, always striving for a state of inner peace and balance. If you think about the depth and wisdom of Epictetus's words, then the first and greatest victory is victory over yourself. We understand that the end of a relationship is not a failure, but rather a courageous step towards authenticity and personal wisdom. This path, although challenging, provides an opportunity for growth and affirmation of our highest values and principles. Remember that every choice we make, especially those that lead us to ending situations that cause us harm, it is an act of courage and deep self-respect. This Stoic path not only preserves our well-being, but also opens us up to a more virtuous and fulfilling life. Please share in the comments what wise advice helped you leave a toxic relationship and find inner harmony. Your stories will inspire and support others. If you liked our content, please subscribe. If you haven't already, turn on notifications and become part of our community. We look forward to continuing with you in our shared quest for a richer, more meaningful life. See you in the next video. Our collective search for a richer and more meaningful life. See you in the next video.